Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. This video today is a review of mask rules when flying internationally at the moment. So there's lots of contradictory or out-of-date information out there. So what I've done is gone to a range of different airlines websites and I'll show you what I've found. So the main aspects of travel that I'm tracking at the moment are the mask rules, which this video is about, cost of flights. And I have noticed in the last week or two, I'm looking at flights between the UK and Australia, but I think this would go for other places as well. The cost of flights for August at least has dropped by £200 or £300. And I think it will continue to drop as more people are booking. So I'll keep you updated on that too. The other thing I'm tracking is the rules for allowing unvaccinated people to enter USA and Canada. No indication of when that's going to be dropped yet, but again, I'll keep you posted. Okay, so with international flights, they fall into two categories. There's the airlines that say all flights you need to wear a mask, no matter what the rules are for the destination you're going to. And then the other group is more lenient and they say you only need to wear a mask if the destination requires it. Otherwise, you don't need a mask. So I'm going to click through just some bits that I've clicked from different airlines websites. I'm not going to read all the information I have on the screen. You might want to pause it, but just to give you an overview of what's going on. So British Airways is one of the airlines that only makes you wear a mask if the destination requires it. They've got a really useful table here. I assume it's up to date, but you just don't know at the moment. But this is the first part. I've done a summary underneath. So you can see it says where you need to wear a mask on board for the destination, where you need to wear a mask on board coming back to the UK, and countries where you need to wear a mask in the airport terminal. So this is my summary of the whole thing. You don't need to wear a mask on board when flying to these countries here, including Thailand and USA on a British Airways flight. These countries, it says if you're flying to the UK, you need to wear a mask. Now, this contradicts what I've heard about Australia. I keep hearing that if you fly direct from Perth to London, you don't need to wear a mask. So this is what it says on BA website, but again, there's some contradictions out there. And not many countries where you don't need to wear a mask in the terminal, just Australia, only in the past few weeks, Germany, Portugal, Spain, and the USA, except for JFK and Las Vegas. So this is the information now. I got this today. It's the 16th of July, 2022 on the BA website. Easyjet is similar to BA. So you only need to wear the mask if the destination requires it. All flights to, from, and within Germany need it. It says here these countries, all passengers aged 6 and over need to wear a face mask, and they specify no scarves, face visors, or masks with valves, has to be a face mask. But all other routes on Easyjet, I like what they say here. It may be helpful to have a mask with you, but wearing a mask is optional and your choice will be respected. So good there from Easyjet. Not sure with Ryanair. I'm mainly looking at kind of longer haul international flights here, but I have read that it's a little bit stricter than Easyjet, but again, I haven't looked at that as part of this. All right, Qantas, what's going on with them? Looks similar to British Airways. Okay, you need to wear a mask if the destination requires it. All domestic flights in Australia, you still need to wear a mask if you're 12 or over. The age varies. So I think mostly I've seen 12 and over, but we saw that other airline had 6. I've seen one that said 2 years old and over have to wear a mask. Okay, here we go. International flights on Qantas to and from Australia. you are required to wear a mask on all international flights to Australia, and where it's a government requirement for your destination when flying from Australia. So that's Qantas. Okay, KLM. Since 21st of May, face masks are no longer mandatory on most KLM flights. So that's good to read there. So this is Royal Dutch Airlines based in Amsterdam. Also, you don't have to wear one, it says here, at Schiphol Airport, which is the main airport in Amsterdam, but you can if you want. This is a bit weird. They've still got this rule about when visiting a cafe or restaurant in the airport, even though you don't have to wear the mask in the airport, but you need to show a COVID-19 certificate in a cafe or restaurant, but not bars or restaurants after security. Okay, so that's KLM. So flights in the USA, this I think was back on the 19th of April that they dropped the mask requirement on all flights in the USA and to the USA. I remember video at the time of cabin crew or the pilot making an announcement to the passengers, and some people looking bewildered and some people taking their masks off when he said that the law had been changed mid-flight. So this is for United, but from what I've seen of other USA airlines, it's all the same. All employees and customers are welcome to wear a face covering if they choose, but they are no longer required on board domestic flights. And at most airports, we did see before, JFK and Las Vegas do need them for BA. And again, international flights, you only need them if the arrival country requires it. So that's good for the USA. Problem is with the USA, though, they won't let unvaccinated international travellers fly in there yet. So moving over to the Middle East, this is Emirates, but I also looked up Etihad and it was exactly the same. And I assume it's the same for Qatar as well. Strict here, you need to wear a mask in the airport throughout your flight and as you leave the aircraft. So basically masks on all of their flights. I think even despite the rules at the destination. This makes it clear, like a few other airlines, that they have to be the medical, they're called like N something or other, those medical, not just the kind of blue ones, but the medical ones to Germany, France and Austria. Various things to do for an exemption. They make the exemption very difficult. Some websites make you fill in a form. I mean, some airlines make you fill in a form like this one 48 hours before. Some ask you to show a doctor's note when you check in, but none of them seem to accept you just saying, I'm exempt, and knowing that they have no right to ask your medical information. Most of them are asking for a doctor's note with this kind of information on it. So if you want to get that for an Emirates flight, this is what it needs to contain and all the rules about it. So that's flying into the Middle East or transiting through on one of their airlines. Okay, moving over to Asia, we've got Singapore Airlines. All passengers 6 years old and above must wear a face mask during a flight, except when eating and drinking. And they do specify the mask must cover the nose and mouth. Cathay Pacific, pretty much the same thing. Look at this. If you are 2 years of age or older, you must wear a surgical face covering when traveling with us. I don't want to express my own opinion too much on these videos, but Cathay Pacific, that is disgusting. Anyway, this is when 2 years old and above have to wear a mask. Bit of extra information. Says about lounges. Okay, so that's Cathay Pacific. Thai as well. Now, this seems to contradict what BA was saying. I thought they said flying on, I guess on their airlines into Thailand, you don't have to wear one. But Thai Airways says masks must be worn at all times on board our flights and at Thai airports. Talks about the kind of mask. And again, like Cathay Pacific, 2 years old and above, have to wear a mask for the duration of the flight, on what will probably be a long-haul flight. So there we go. Air India was an interesting one. I saw an interview on YouTube with a news channel and a journalist. It was from sometime in June, so 4 or 5 weeks ago, saying that even though there was a rule that you have to wear them on Air India flights, so many passengers weren't. So that was tightened up. And it does say on their website, since the 10th of May, mandatory for all passengers to wear a face mask at all times during air travel. But it does sound like that's sort of been disregarded by many passengers. Here we go. So there are the airlines that I've looked at so far. I felt like that gave a good range of different airlines and parts of the world for international flights. I came across this from a website called Aviation Direct from Lufthansa. So that's the German national airline. Lufthansa crews no longer have to enforce mask requirements. This was from May or June. So interesting to read here, because fewer and fewer passengers on board Lufthansa want to comply with the German mask requirement, and there are therefore more discussions and verbal conflicts. The crews have been instructed that they no longer have to enforce the wearing of mouth and nose protection. So German people, or at least people on Lufthansa flights, standing up for themselves on this issue. A bit more about that you can read there. It does say here, it's the only place I've seen this, Germany is one of only a few countries in Europe to be stuck with the mask requirement on board aircraft. Austria apparently abolished this on the 1st of June. Again, this is the only website I saw this on. I haven't looked on Austrian Airlines, but it might be worth a look. Passengers who come from countries where there's no obligation to cover their mouth and nose should react with incomprehension to Lufthansa's mask requirement. So that's interesting. You might get away with it on Lufthansa. And, I just clicked on the link to that story about Austria. From 1st of June, they paused the mask requirement on airplanes and public transport, and in airport terminals. So everyone, that is everything I found out so far looking at mask requirements at the moment. My recommendation when booking international flights would be to check the following things. Check the airline rules on masks for the airline you're traveling with on the airline website, and also check the rules at your country of destination. They'll basically be the same. Check any code share flights on a different airline that's code share, just to check their rules as well. Check the rules in any transit countries, such as if you're just changing planes in Singapore from London to Sydney, but not leaving the airport. I do know in Singapore you can transit without being vaccinated, but you have to wear a mask in the airport the whole time. And just double check airline rules regarding being unvaccinated. Qantas has dropped that rule, and I've read that it was one of the last few airlines to have that rule, but I haven't read anywhere what the other airlines are. So, I mean, there's not many of them apparently, but I would check that. Okay, everyone, as more information on all of this comes out, I will update you in a video. I hope that was useful. If you've flown recently and have any further insights, or you're from any of these countries and you know more, or there's any changes coming up or anything I've said that's not accurate, or even if you've got any questions or things you'd like me to look into, do let me know. I'm happy to look at that. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and I'll be back as soon as